Off and Running by Gary Soto. Selection illustrated by Eric Velazquez. Miata Ramirez is running for 5th grade class president with her best friend Anna as her running mate. Also running is Rudy Herrera with his friend Alex. Miata has good ideas to improve the school, but Rudy is funny and popular. It will be a close race, and both students try to convince their classmates to vote for them when election speeches are held in front of the entire class. Miata scanned the audience, sitting on the floor in the multipurpose room, which was still decorated with banners for the 16th of September, Mexican Independence Day. The heads of the 5th graders wagged like apples on a branch. Miata was nervous about the debate, but this was her big chance to tell the students why they should vote for her, and not for Rudy. Miata looked at Rudy sitting next to her. She could see that he was chewing gum, which was against school rules. He was smacking his lips and waving to the boys in the audience. Blowing a bubble, Rudy turned to Miata. The bubble grew as large as a fist and popped like a fist in a baseball glove. He laughed and asked, "You want some gum?" "No, it's against school rules," Miata said. "I'm not going to get in trouble just before elections." "Oh yeah, that's right," Rudy said. He swallowed the bubble gum and opened his mouth like an alligator's. His throat blared. Ah! He closed his mouth and said, "See, it's all gone." "That's ugly, Rudy," Miata grimaced. Rudy shrugged his shoulders. He turned his attention to the audience. Someone was yelling at Rudy to ask if he wanted to exchange his sandwich for a burrito during lunch. Rudy gave him a thumbs-up response. Miata's nervous knees shivered, and the lines on her palms ran with sticky sweat. She looked down at the 5 Miata and Anna badges on the front of her blouse. Earlier, they had seemed so neat, but now they just got in her way. "People! 5th graders! Let's settle down!" Mrs. Castillo, the vice principal, yelled above the noise. She repeated her command, and gradually the bobbing head stopped moving. "Yeah, let's knock it off!" Rudy yelled, getting to his feet. His gaze locked on 2 boys who were pushing each other. "Carlos! Leave Jaime alone! Save it for the playground!" Carlos stopped shoving his friend and sat up as straight as an angel, which he was not. "That's better," Rudy said. He then returned to his seat. "Thank you, Rudy," Mrs. Castillo said. "No problem," he said. Mrs. Castillo turned to Miata and with a smile said sweetly, "We're going to hear from Miata first. She's in room 6. Let's hear what she has to say." There was light applause as Miata rose from her chair and approached the podium. She climbed onto a box that was set there for her. She adjusted the microphone. "Good morning," Miata said. "It's almost afternoon," Carlos yelled. Miata looked at the clock on the wall and then at Carlos. She decided to ignore him. She continued with a bright chime in her voice. "I'm seeking your votes next Tuesday. I want to be your president." "President of the United States?" Carlos yelled through the funnel of his hands. With that, Mrs. Castillo, now stern-faced, shook a finger at him. He returned to sitting as straight as an angel. Miata breathed in as she gathered strength. She inflated her lungs and boomed, "If elected, I plan to beautify the school grounds. I want to get rid of all that cholo graffiti and put some flowers in by our 5th grade rooms." Some of the students, mostly girls, applauded. "I'm sure you're tired of a cochino-looking school," Miata boomed even louder. There was more applause, but not enough to make Miata confident. She eyed Anna in the audience. Anna hadn't clapped that hard. Miata clicked her tongue and thought, "Come on, Anna, let's get with it." "Those are good ideas," Anna remarked, not too bravely. She looked around at the audience. No one was applauding. Miata paused, somewhat shaken. She had practiced with Anna on the school grounds, but now behind the podium, the words didn't seem as powerful. "I plan to get parents involved," Miata continued. "I want them to help with the cleanup." Only one student applauded. It was Carlos. He was as plodding as hard as rain on a car roof. He wouldn't stop until Mrs. Castillo beckoned him with the finger. He was being called out of the room. He rose to his feet and said, "I'll vote for you, Miata. You're nicer." Then, looking at Rudy, Carlos stepped over his classmate sitting on the floor. "Nah, I better vote for Rudy. I owe him a quarter." He was prodded from the multipurpose room toward the principal's office. "Just think," Miata said, her voice weak. She was losing her confidence. "We can put some really nice azaleas and pansies outside our windows. The walls will be all clean, not like they are now." She looked at her scribbled notes, then up toward the audience. "It'll be work, but we can do it." The audience scrunched up their faces. "And I have plans for a school trip," Miata countered quickly, sensing that she was losing her listeners. "And I have a fundraising idea for how we can get computers." The audience yawned. 2 posters that said "Vote for Miata and Anna" sunk down. "I have a question," a boy said, his hand as tall as a spear. "Yes?" "Are we going to get paid to work?" His face was lit with a grin. He knew he was being silly. "No, we're not getting paid. It's for our school." The students muttered but applauded lightly. A few of the posters went up again in a rattle but quickly sank down. "Please think of me when you vote on Tuesday," Miata said. Her voice was now as faint as a baby bird's chirp. She sat down, exhausted. She wanted to shake her head in defeat, but knew that she had to sit up bravely. She waved at the audience, but only a few students waved back. Not one of them was a boy. Then Rudy stood up. He approached the podium and leaped up onto the box. "Hey, I like this," he laughed. As he held onto the podium, he wobbled the box and said, "It's like a skateboard." The audience laughed. From where she sat, Miata could see that more than one boy was chewing bubblegum. Rudy then became serious. He looked at Miata and said, "She's got some ideas. Miata would make a good prez, but I think I would make a truly great one." The audience laughed. "And you know why?" Rudy asked. "Why?" some of the boys in the audience repeated. Rudy turned a cupped ear to the audience. "I can't hear you." "Why?" yelled a mixed group of boys and girls. "Still can't hear you." Rudy smiled. "Why?" the entire audience yelled. Rudy nodded his head, smiling. He had their attention. "It's because I'm going to work to get us more recess time." The audience applauded and chanted, "More recess, more recess, more recess." "Yeah, and instead of just 15 minutes, I'm going to ask the principal for 20, at least. Maybe even half an hour, homeboys." "Why not an hour?" someone yelled from the audience. "We can't push our luck, dude," Rudy responded. Miata wanted to cover her face. It was obvious that the audience was siding with Rudy. Rudy raised his hands and asked for silence. "Plus," he continued as he slowly scanned the audience, "plus, I'm going to ask for ice cream day every day, not just on Fridays." The audience roared as Rudy wobbled the box and then jumped off. He returned to his seat, pushing a fresh piece of bubblegum into his mouth. "You've got good ideas," Rudy said with confidence. "Good luck. Buena suerte." He extended a hand. "Yeah, thanks. I'll need it," Miata said in a whisper as she stood up and shook Rudy's hand, which is cool as a lizard's. "Good luck to you too, Rudy." After the debate, the students returned to their classrooms. Miata tried to put on a good face. Most of the girls knew that Rudy was a joker. They knew he could never get that 5 extra minutes of recess or ice cream day 5 days a week. But the boys might believe him. Miata needed a new strategy. After school, she returned home and started her homework behind the closed door of her bedroom. But her mind stalled. She kept looking at the photo of herself taken in Mexico when she was 5 years old. She was on a pony. Her smile was big and her eyes lit with happiness. "That was fun," she whispered as she remembered how her Uncle Jorge led her around the yard. At the time, she had thought that she was going really fast, but now she knew that it must have been slower than a trot. Miata put down her homework and looked in her scrapbook at her dad's family in Mexico. Her grandparents and uncles and aunts. They all lived north of Guadalajara, on a rancho. Then, toward dark, she heard her father come home. She heard the screen door slam and his heavy trudge to the kitchen. She heard the groan of the faucet and then her father calling, "Miata! Ven acá!" Miata let the pencil roll from her hand. She was tired of doing her math problems. "See!" Miata yelled. As she scooted her chair, she hurried into the living room. "What's up, Poppy?" "I found something at work." "What?" "A most unusual thing." "What is it? Tell me." He was holding a small white box in his hand. "It scared me when I found it." Her father's face was dark with worry and dust from his long hours at work. Miata furrowed her brow. She was curious. Slowly, her father lifted the lid from the box. Miata peeked in, standing on her tiptoes. In it stood an adult index finger that was as gnarled as a root. She eyed her father and clicked her tongue. "Where do you think it came from, mija?" her father asked seriously. He petted the finger with his free hand. "From your left hand, Poppy," Miata answered, hands on her hips. "That's where it came from." A sudden smile brightened his face. He wiggled the finger in the box and screamed, "Aye! It's come alive! I better put it down the garbage disposal!" He ran into the kitchen laughing, and Miata followed her father, but he only got himself another glass of water. "Dad?" Miata asked, taking his large, work-stained hand into hers. "Yeah, mija?" He wiped his mouth with the back of his free hand. "Do you think I should run for office?" She hesitated and then continued. "I mean, I'm not as popular as Rudy or his friend Alex." "Well, popularity is one thing, but service is another. ¿Entiendes?" Miata shook her head. She was confused. "I mean, it's okay to have a lot of people who like you, but it's far better to help people to get things done." He gave her a light hug. "Don't worry. Just go for it. If it doesn't happen, pues, you can still do good." Miata liked that. She had plans for the school, and they were good ones.